Your presence here is an insult to everyone present. You will leave this instant, or I will have you removed personally.
What happens when someone rips your dress simply because they think you don't belong? Simone didn't scream. She didn't even raise her voice. But her silence, it changed everything. If you love interesting stories like this that expose the truth, please give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments section where in the world you are watching this video. And also do well to smash that subscribe button. The entire ballroom at the Riverside Grand Hotel went completely still, not the normal quiet after a speech. This was different. This was the kind of silence that makes your heart race. Every single person turned to look at the same spot near the marble staircase. A torn piece of fabric hung from someone's hand, and standing perfectly still was Simone Washington. Her stunning silver gown, which had sparkled under the chandeliers just moments before, now had a horrible tear down the side. She gripped what remained of it, her chest rising and falling as she fought to stay calm. The white woman standing in front of her looked shocked and confused, but it felt fake. You could hear a pin drop. Champagne glasses froze in midair. The band stopped playing. Even the hotel manager didn't know whether to step in or stay back. "Excuse me," Simone's voice was calm, too calm. "What did you just do?" The older woman blinked. Her lips curled into a cold smile. "Well, maybe next time you'll be more careful before walking around pretending you belong somewhere you clearly don't." Those words cut deeper than any torn dress ever could. Let's go back 15 minutes. Everything seemed perfect then. The Riverside Grand Hotel in Charleston, South Carolina had never looked more beautiful. Soft lights framed the tall windows. Jazz music floated through the air. Guests in sparkling gowns and sharp tuxedos chatted over champagne. This was the annual Riverside Youth Foundation Gala, raising money for after-school programs across the city. Right in the middle of it all stood Simone Washington, 31 years old, confident but humble. People knew her for her fashion designs and her warm heart. She wasn't born rich, far from it, but she'd built her reputation one client at a time, starting from a tiny studio in the heart of the city. Tonight, she wasn't there to show off. She was there because she donated the evening's biggest auction item, a custom gown that had already sparked a bidding war. Beside her stood her husband, Marcus Washington, a quiet man with a calm presence. He wasn't one to brag about money, but everyone in the room knew who he was. One of the city's most successful real estate developers, known for his generous heart. Simone leaned toward him, smiling. "You hear that? That's why I wanted to come tonight." Marcus smiled back, "And that's why everyone respects you." But as Simone walked away to greet a friend, someone else's eyes followed her. Someone who didn't recognize her name and made a snap judgment based purely on assumptions. That someone was Katherine Bennett, one of the event's biggest donors. Behind her back, people called her the kind of woman who thinks the world revolves around her. Katherine watched Simone laughing and moving gracefully through the room, but in Katherine's mind, Simone didn't fit. Not here, not in this ballroom. When Katherine saw Simone reach for a champagne glass, she made her move. "Finally," Katherine muttered, waving her fingers impatiently. "Could you grab me one of those? The chilled ones, not the flat ones. Please hurry." Simone blinked, confused. "I'm sorry." Katherine frowned. "You heard me, you're serving, aren't you?" The air between them grew tense. For a moment, Simone just stood there, half in disbelief, half deciding whether to laugh or correct her. But she chose grace. Always grace. "No, ma'am," Simone said gently. "I'm not staff, I'm just—" But Katherine's hand was already moving, and that's when everything changed. Earlier that evening, Simone had stood in front of her mirror at the hotel suite, adjusting the final pin in her hair. Her reflection looked calm, but inside, her heart fluttered with pride. Her gown, the one she'd spent weeks designing and sewing herself, was finally complete. silver satin with delicate embroidery near the waist, just enough detail to show artistry without screaming for attention. It wasn't just a dress, it was a piece of her story. Marcus appeared behind her. "You look like royalty," he said softly. Simone smiled. "Maybe I am, I just didn't know I'd be wearing it tonight." She turned toward him. "Remember when I first told you I wanted to design full-time?" He nodded. "You were still sewing at the kitchen table with fabric scraps your grandmother gave you." "And everyone said I should find something more stable," she said, smirking. Marcus walked over and took her hand. "I always knew you'd make it. You never stop until you do." Together they made an unlikely pair in Charleston's old money circles. But to them, it wasn't about class. It was about building something meaningful. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers sparkled. Laughter echoed off marble floors. Charleston's elite mingled effortlessly. But Simone wasn't interested in small talk for appearances. She preferred real conversations with real people. "Mrs. Washington," someone called. It was Lisa Chen, a local art teacher. "Thank you for sponsoring my students' exhibit last month. They won't stop talking about you." Simone laughed. "They're the talented ones, I just gave them fabric." A small group gathered around her, donors, artists, even 2 high school volunteers. She spoke to them like equals. But across the room, not everyone shared that view. Katherine Bennett, dressed in pearls and a tailored cream suit, leaned toward her friend. "It's just sad, really. Some people don't know when to stay in their lane." Her friend gave an uncomfortable laugh. The kind you give when you don't want to be part of something ugly, but don't have the courage to stop it. When Simone reached for a champagne glass, she felt a sharp tap on her shoulder. "Finally, I've been waiting. Do you mind getting me one too?" At first, Simone thought it was a joke, but when she turned and met Katherine's cold stare, she realized it wasn't. "I think there's a waiter right behind you," Simone said politely. Katherine's lips tightened. "Excuse me, you're not staff." "No, ma'am, I'm a guest here." Katherine tilted her head, eyes narrowing like the words didn't make sense. "Oh, of course you are," she chuckled, but there was nothing kind in it. The tension could have ended there, but Katherine's pride, or maybe her prejudice, refused to let go. As Simone turned to leave, Katherine reached out and grabbed her. The sound of fabric ripping filled the air, loud, unmistakable. Gasps erupted. Someone dropped their glass. The music stopped. Simone's hand went to the tear in her dress. For a moment, she couldn't move. The humiliation hit before anything else. Katherine froze, realizing what she'd done, but instead of apologizing, she straightened up. "Well, maybe next time you'll think twice before pretending to be something you're not." The words echoed like a slap. Simone blinked once, twice. Her voice, steady as steel, cut through the silence. "You don't know me, you don't know what I've worked for, but you just showed everyone exactly who you are." A murmur spread through the crowd. People pulled out their phones, others shook their heads. And from the back of the room, one man had already started walking toward them. Tall, calm, quiet, his face unreadable, Marcus Washington. Marcus didn't rush. He simply walked, steady and deliberate. Every eye followed him as he moved toward Simone, who stood frozen, still clutching her torn dress. Katherine turned slightly, pretending not to notice him, but her shoulders stiffened. Marcus stopped beside Simone. He looked at her first, scanning her face, her eyes glistening. Then gently he placed his hand over hers. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Simone nodded, though her voice trembled. "I'm fine." Marcus turned to Katherine. "You tore my wife's dress." The word wife hit the room like thunder. Gasps slipped out. "That's his wife," someone whispered. Katherine's confidence faltered. "Wait, your wife?" Marcus's voice didn't waver. "Yes, my wife, Simone Washington. You know, the woman whose gown was auctioned tonight for $50,000. The one you were bidding on before you lost." Katherine went pale. I didn't realize." That's the problem, Marcus interrupted. You didn't realize because you didn't care to. The crowd stayed silent. Katherine tried to recover. Mr. Washington, I'm terribly sorry. It was an honest mistake. I just thought she was one of the servers. Marcus raised an eyebrow. No, you saw a woman who didn't fit the picture in your head, and instead of questioning that picture, you acted on it. Katherine opened her mouth, but no words came. Simone touched Marcus's arm softly. Marcus, she whispered, trying to calm him. But he wasn't angry. His tone was too controlled. That made it worse. Mrs. Bennet, he continued, my wife worked for years to be here. She built her career from nothing. Every stitch in that dress came from her hands. She spent nights sewing while others slept because she believed in creating something beautiful. He glanced at the crowd. And now, in a room meant to represent charity, she's being humiliated for existing in a space she earned. Someone near the back clapped once, then stopped. Katherine's face flushed red. Mr. Washington, I truly didn't mean any harm. Simone finally spoke, soft but strong. You may not have meant harm, but that doesn't mean you didn't cause it. She took a small step forward. When I walked into this room tonight, I came to celebrate the programs we're funding. Kids who dream big even when the world tells them to dream small. I came to raise money, not to raise my voice. She glanced at her torn dress. But maybe this needed to happen, because sometimes people like you need a reminder that kindness isn't about who you sit next to. It's about how you treat people you think no one's watching. Marcus pulled out his checkbook and handed a signed slip to the event host. Add another 100,000 in my wife's name. The host nodded silently. Katherine stepped back, eyes glistening. I am sorry, she whispered. Simone nodded. I hope you mean that. Then she turned to the crowd, shoulders straight, chin high. Let's get back to what tonight was supposed to be about. Helping kids believe in themselves. Because that's something no one should ever try to tear apart. Applause rose, slowly at first, then louder, genuine. The band started playing again. Marcus took her hand as they walked away, leaving Katherine standing alone. Outside, Katherine stood near a marble pillar for 20 minutes, replaying everything in her head. When she saw Simone and Marcus walking toward the valet, she hesitated. Then she called out, Mrs. Washington. Simone paused. Marcus stepped aside. I wanted to apologize, Katherine began, her voice softer now. What I said, what I did, it was wrong. Simone studied her. It takes courage to say that, but apology isn't the end. It's the beginning if you mean it. I do, Katherine said quickly. Simone smiled. Then start there, not for me, for yourself. For the people who will look to you tomorrow and learn from what you choose to do next. Katherine blinked back tears. You're far kinder than I deserve. Maybe, Simone replied, but that's what breaks the cycle. She reached out her hand. Katherine took it. The handshake was brief, but it was enough. Good night, Mrs. Bennet, Simone said, turning toward the car. Take care of yourself. Inside the car, Simone exhaled deeply, resting her head against the window. You handled that with grace, Marcus said quietly. Simone turned to him. Sometimes grace is the only thing left when the world tries to take everything else. He nodded. Do you ever get tired of being the bigger person? Her eyes lingered on the road ahead. Every day, but if I stop, I lose more than they ever took from me. Marcus reached for her hand. That's why I fell in love with you. Simone laughed lightly. No, you fell in love with me because I fixed your jacket at that gala in Atlanta 5 years ago. He smiled, that too. The next morning, sunlight filled the Washingtons' kitchen. Simone scrolled through her phone. Her inbox overflowed. Messages from reporters, fashion blogs, strangers who'd witnessed what happened. One message caught her eye. Thank you for standing tall last night. My daughter was there working as a server. She said she's never felt prouder to be who she is. Simone smiled. That was it. Marcus walked in. "You're reading about it." She nodded and showed him the screen. "You made a bigger difference than you think," he said. Later that day, the Riverside Foundation released a statement thanking Simone publicly. An anonymous donation had doubled the gala's total overnight. Katherine issued her own apology through a letter that ended with, "I'm learning that silence can harm just as much as words. I hope to be better." Simone didn't reply. The moment had already done what it needed to. That night she worked at her sewing machine, repairing the torn gown stitch by stitch. Each thread felt like reclaiming something. Not pride, not revenge, just peace. When she finished, she held the gown under the lamplight. The tear was invisible now, almost like it never happened, but she would never forget where it once was. Marcus appeared in the doorway, back at it already. Simone smiled. "Yeah, if something gets torn, you fix it, you don't throw it away." He wrapped his arms around her. "That's your gift. You don't just design dresses, you mend what life tries to break." She leaned back against him, one stitch at a time. Because at the end of the day, you can't control how people see you, but you can control how you respond when they try to tear you down. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm, stand tall, and let your dignity speak louder than their ignorance. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect. Treat people right, no matter where they stand, what they wear, or what you assume about them. Because respect doesn't cost anything, but losing it can cost everything.